So it's a pleasure to introduce our speaker for October, Abby Hungwe. She serves as the managing director of Owl and Panther, a nonprofit that serves refugee families through expressive arts, health, education, and community outreach. She came to Tucson as an asylum seeker in 2008. Abby is originally from a small mining town in Zimbabwe called
Zishawane.
Thank you so much. Abby and her team work together to offer programs that meet participants where they are and support them in their healing journey. Their goal is to help refugee families cultivate a sense of belonging by building strong roots as well as ties with the community and their peers. As a former participant herself, Abby has firsthand experience of the power of expressive arts, programming, and relationship building offered by Owl and Panther to lift one up from a state of survival to thriving. In addition to her role at Owl and Panther, Abby serves as a treasurer of the Learning Community for Loss, Grief, and Transition, and as a trustee of the Arizona Sonora Desert Museum. She is passionate about community building, art, and nature. Please give a round of applause for Abby this morning. Click her just to the right button.
All right. Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Anita, for the introduction. And thank you, everybody, for taking the time to join me this morning and listen to a little bit about the story of my life and the story of the people I work with. Today, the title of my talk is Soft, the Strength Within Gentleness. A little bit of an overview. I'm going to discuss softness from my perspective as a community builder. But before we get into the story of what softness means to me and our organization, just so we're on the same page, today, softness means strength for me. It also means the courage to remain open. Open even when it would be easier to be closed. The people I serve and the people we work with, a lot of the times they've experienced some of the most horrible things that humanity can do to each other. But softness asks us to be courageous and to remain open-hearted even through the difficulty. I started off, as Anita shared, I started at Owl and Panther as a participant. When I came to the United States in 2008, I was in a very dark place personally. I left violence, I left threats to my life, and coming here, the decision to come here to the United States was a very difficult decision for me. Yes, it meant safety, but it also meant loss of familiarity, loss of my place in the world, loss of the support of my friends and my family. But I was fortunate that within about a month of being here in this country, being new, feeling lonely, not knowing anybody, I was introduced to a group called Owl and Panther by my immigration lawyer. I came as an asylum seeker, and my immigration lawyer, Rachel Wilson, thought I would benefit from the work of Owl and Panther in the community. And this was very true for me because what this group became for me was home. Owl and Panther became family. And one of the first art activities that I was fortunate to engage in at Owl and Panther was an activity around poetry. I remember, for me, my history with poetry wasn't a great one. I associated poetry with fear, with shame, because for me, poetry was what I learned in school, which was rhyming. Something I'm very bad at. And so, it was something where I thought I was weak in. And I didn't want to engage at first because I was afraid. I was afraid to be vulnerable. I was afraid to show a side of myself that I didn't feel that confident in. But Marge Pellegrino, our program manager at the time, who's also a teaching artist, she encouraged me. And art from that day became a tool for healing for me, because not only was I able to create a poem that made sense, that poem became a digital story that was later shared to a group of about 120 at the Loft. And I began to feel pride in the things that sometimes I don't feel so confident in, but it gave me the confidence to try, even when I don't feel that confident in it. Now, the culture that I come from, it tells us to be strong, to be sure of ourselves. And the culture that I live in now as a transnational, as somebody who's been here in the US for 17 years, the culture is very much about productivity. And all of these things are hard. Hard to navigate, hard to experience and engage and live life in. But healing, especially when we use art as a tool for healing, it asks us if we can be present, if we can be open, and if we can be still. Because with art, there is play, but there is also the journey of healing, especially for somebody like myself who experienced severe trauma as part of my life journey. At Owl and Panther, we use art to create soft spaces. This is a picture of us at the Tucson Museum of Art, which is one of our longest partners. We've been in partnership with TMA for about 16 years now. They continue to support our programming. And at spaces like TMA, grief, wonder, joy, peace, compassion, all of those things can coexist because we ask everybody in the room to just be present with whatever activity that we're doing on any given day, to show up as themselves. And sometimes that means coming as somebody feeling not your best self. And that's okay, because we're a community and we are there to create this soft space together, to create this welcoming, engaging, brave space together. And some of the strategies that we use in the engagement at Owl and Panther, it's primarily out of a focus of the process of making art together, the process of learning together, rather than the end product. Now, don't get me wrong, the end product is beautiful. The end product is something that we are very proud to showcase in the community. I mentioned TMA as one of our partners. We've had a couple of exhibits at TMA. I think the longest exhibit ran for 3 months, maybe, through our partnership called Museum as Sanctuary. And while the end product is beautiful, Tucson gets to see the work of the people that we serve as an organization. It is actually the process where the healing, where the relationship building, the community building, the sense of belonging is cultivated. And some of the strategies that we use in that engagement include positive phrasing. And by positive phrasing, I mean using language in a way that is kind, in a way that is compassionate, using language to express what you would like rather than what you don't want, right? And that's the first and most important strategy that we ask our team and the volunteers and everybody we serve to use positive phrasing as a way to ground the work that we do together, as a foundation for the work that we do together. Another strategy is brief, specific praise. Now, the artists that I know that I have in my life, after they're done with the process of creating and they have this beautiful work, they really do enjoy the praise that they get. They really do enjoy the engagement that people have with the work that they've accomplished. And at Owl and Panther, we encourage especially the volunteers and the staff to go beyond praising, to ask questions, to help the artists, the refugees that we work with, to think about their work and think about whether or not they maybe want to add something, to think about why they chose the colors they chose, why they chose the patterns, to help them find a voice in their art, to help them reclaim self-expression, to help them discover things about themselves that they may not know. And the third and final strategy that brings softness in our engagement is flexibility. And for us, flexibility a lot of the time means choice. For example, I was talking to Tina earlier, and I mentioned that we have a pottery activity going on tomorrow at Silver Lake Park. And even when we design and plan an event or an activity that we hope everybody would engage in, we'll also bring soccer balls, we'll bring watercolor, we'll bring a lot of other different activities, because as I mentioned before, we welcome people to come as they are. And when the people we serve don't really feel like pottery is the thing for them that morning or that afternoon that we're together, then there are other activities, there's other things available for them to still be able to engage, for them to still feel like they're having a good time with everybody, with their community. Now, I think of myself as a non-artist now. I mentioned that I came to Owl and Panther as a participant, and I was a participant for about 4 years, participant and volunteer, for about 4 years before I joined the team. And I was fortunate, my early years of being a part of the team, I was able to continue to be a participant because one of the things that's beautiful about Owl and Panther, we have a self-graduation policy where a participant is welcome to be a part of our community together for as long as they feel like they need it. We also have an open door policy that, if ever in their life they need to come back at Owl and Panther, they are always welcome. And for me, I've kind of lived in between because I never left Owl and Panther. I'm still here 17 years later, but my role has changed. And I'm not always able to be still sometimes. Even when we have events going on, I feel a responsibility to make sure that everybody in the room is feeling safe, is feeling cared for, is feeling like they're benefiting from the time that we have together. So my role now is more as a non-artist. But in that role, I maintain softness by listening. And sometimes listening is not just listening to the words, but also listening to what is unspoken, listening to nonverbal cues, listening with my heart, listening with my eyes sometimes. And I feel like a lot of the times, even outside of Owl and Panther, art, because I'm no longer practicing it as much as I would like to, it still remains a conduit for me to believe in what I don't fully understand sometimes. And by asking questions, by being inquisitive, by exercising wonder, I remain close and connected to art, even when I don't get to practice it as much anymore. And the gift, the creative's gift, is definitely to remind us how to be soft again. I mentioned that the people that we serve, myself included, we have experienced a lot of hardness from the world. And art and pretty much what artists do for us through patterns, through color, shapes, texture, is remind us of the need to be soft, the need to remain soft even when it is hard. And I would like to share a collaborative poem with you that we created at Owl and Panther, because I feel like this poem represents a lot of what I've been talking about, of how vulnerability and strength and honesty are embodied in the softness that is art, even when people have experienced hardness. If the mango tree could speak, inspired by a film of the same name. If the mango tree could speak, it would be honest. It would tell how it feels inside. It would touch our hearts, and we would know what is good and bad. It would tell about my people and say how they live. It would tell about my broken heart of memories, the broken heart of my past, my broken heart. Hearing my people cry for their relatives. If the mango tree could speak, it would weep with the fear of 1,000 years. It would cry for all the suffering of the people. It would say what happened a long time ago. It would speak about what has been lost. It would teach numbers by counting how many people it has seen killed. It would tell how the people are suffering. It would say that children are strong. It would be shy. It would know great and sad stories. If the mango tree could speak, it would say that people are beautiful and that they have love to give. It would say, help the poor people. It would sing, hope lives on, peace can come, wave its banner in my leaves. If the mango tree could speak, it would say, do not cut me, please. It would say, I love you. The mango tree would tell the truth. And excuse me, I get emotional every time I read this poem. But even through pain, art heals us. Art has a ripple effect. It is a softness that spreads quietly. And in presence, in compassion, in art, we can claim the beauty of humanity. We can reclaim ourselves. And I want to leave you with an invitation to ask yourself, where in your practice, in how you live your life, where can you be softer? With yourself, with your art, and with others. Because for all of us, once we embody softness, softness is no longer just about what we do. It is who we become. Thank you.